Welcome to Session 1 of the Horticulture Workshop. We're going to really focus on the research conducted by USQ in this session and also why energy efficiency is important to your farm's profitability. So in this session, we'll have a look at some aspects of sustainability. We'll have a look at the research for all of WA agriculture and your particular industry. We'll focus on a financial example and why energy efficiency is important to your farm's profitability. And then we'll have a workshop session in which we'll look at your farming situation and what you're doing to manage energy. So in the Farm Energy Project, we approach energy management from a sustainability point of view, especially that social and economic side. Socially, you need to put across the business case to other people in your family or others on your farm as to why energy management and reducing electricity, diesel, ULP and LPG is really important. From an economic point of view, we focus on reducing costs and energy demand without affecting production, because that's where the real changes to your profitability will come from. So sustainability on farm has a huge range of benefits financially, operationally, and environmentally. As you can see there, more productive use of labour is a huge one. Farmers can take on average, around 30 projects a year. So it's really important in this workshop that we focus on looking at those energy reducing projects which are of the best value to farmers, because you can't take everything on at once and you really need to prioritise which will be best for you. So let's touch on some of the trends that have come out of the research, the USQ report. Rising energy prices are a reality. Diesel is on the rise. At current, Australians use around 38 billion litres of fuel a year, and that's split 19 ULP and 19 billion litres of diesel. So I want you to pause the video for a second and reflect. What is the first diesel price you can remember? In this workshop, we will focus heavily on diesel as the primary energy source across all the case studies undertaken by USQ. At 87%, you can see it should be our major area of focus. 7 case studies were undertaken in WA across a range of industries. As you can see, diesel was the primary energy source in all of those case studies. Horticulture was the only industry that varied a bit, with more electricity use for cool rooms and packing sheds. In terms of energy cost across all case studies in WA, once again you can see diesel is the highest there at 83%, as you'd expect. In terms of greenhouse gas emissions, you'll see that whilst diesel is still the highest there, electricity is quite significantly represented, given that it does emit more greenhouse gases as an energy source. So in that sense, you'll see here in this table that electricity use emits over 3 times the greenhouse gases that diesel does. What you also need to take into account though is that electrical motors run far more efficiently than diesel motors. A diesel motor will run between 35 and 45% efficiency, while an electricity motor runs at 95% efficiency. For the horticultural research, we'll focus on the broccoli case study that was conducted. As you can see, the energy source is a bit more diverse than the WA agricultural average. There is a lot more electricity and ULP use in this case study. It's interesting to note there as well that 94% of all the diesel used there is used in production. In this case study, despite being only 15% of the energy use, electricity represents 25% of the energy cost. This is important for horticultural businesses to think about because electricity is increasingly becoming more expensive and becoming a significant operational cost to farmers. As we mentioned earlier, electricity emits around 3 times the greenhouse gases that other energy sources do. So due to the high electricity use of this broccoli case study, electricity accounts for 37% of all greenhouse gases emitted, despite being only 15% of the energy source. In your workbook, you'll see there's some broccoli production tables. In these tables, broccoli production accounts for 78% of the energy used, while processing accounts for 22%. However, processing accounts for 29% of the energy cost because of the use of electricity in packing sheds. Your business may be different and have an even higher cost attributed to the processing side of the farm. So for the broccoli case study overall, there's higher electricity use than other agricultural industries. Production accounts for a majority of the costs. Diesel accounts for the most energy in production. However, electricity in processing is also an area to focus on. And the cool rooms and ice maker account for significant processing costs. So that's a broad overview of energy use in WA agriculture as a result of the USQ research. And we've established that energy is a significant operational cost. But where do you start looking at energy use on your own farm? As you can see, we've got 4 main areas we focus on in the Farm Energy Project: measurement and benchmarking, energy source changes, tariffs and costs, and finally, energy demand reductions through changes to practice or infrastructure. But you've got lots on your plate as a farmer. You're probably wondering, what's in it for me? Let's have a look at a financial example. So as you can see, we've got a set of base farm financials on our left-hand side. On our right-hand side, if we decrease the variable cost by just 1% to 59.4, that will increase our gross profit by 1.5%. Our fixed costs stay the same, but suddenly our net profit becomes 4.6%. That's an increase in net profit of 15%. And sure, you could also increase your net profit by increasing the amount that you grow. But as a producer, what do you have more control over? Increasing your income or decreasing your costs? So we've had a look at the trends, the research, your industry in particular, and considered a financial example. What I want to do now is have our first workshop session. So, in your workbook, consider the 2 questions that are on screen now. What are you currently doing to monitor energy use? And what are you currently doing to reduce energy use? Think about what you're currently doing on farm. You may have recently changed tractors and noticed a reduction in fuel cost without even intending to. Once you've considered the 2 questions, turn to page 2 of your energy plan and fill in the yellow box there. While you're at it, have a look at the level 1, level 2 and level 3 data that is required for the National Standards for Energy Auditing, and think about your farm and the kind of data you have for energy use on it. Are you a level 1, a level 2 or even a level 3? We'll talk about it more in the monitoring video. Thank you for taking part in session 1. Your next session is session 2, options for energy efficiency.